Hey, I'm Nick from Power 99. I'm joined here by David, a friend of mine, and today we're going to be
Hello.
doing a Kamigawa Neon Dynasty set review in its entirety. This is just,
Yay.
yeah, this is just the Wizards of the Coast Magic the Gathering um, visual spoiler, their card image gallery. So we're just going to go through Wooburg order, ending with multicolored artifacts, lands, and sagas separately. So we're just going to start with what they have up front. Um, Ancestral Katana seems boring, but kind of good for a samurai deck. I don't think good for a warrior deck.
Yeah, but samurais themselves still need a bit of support.
Yeah,
Like, also a warrior deck, I don't think you're putting this in a warrior, like you said.
I think this might actually be okay in a samurai deck or in like a good Voltron deck that happens to be a samurai.
Yeah,
If that comes up, I'm not sure if there is one or two good Voltron commanders that I'm thinking of. I'm not sure if they're samurai. We'll get to them in a moment. Uh, and then we go straight from a bulk common that's like okay to arguably one of the best cards in the set, Ao
Ayo!
the Dawn Sky. Um, So I'm just gonna
Um,
real quick run through this card. 5 mana, 5/4 for 3 white, flying vigilance, dragon spirit. When it dies, choose one. Look at the top 7 cards of your library. Put any number of non-land cards with total mana value 4 or less from among them onto the battlefield. Put the rest at the bottom of your library in a random order, or put 2+1/+1 counters on each permanent you control that's a creature or vehicle.
Honestly, an amazing card.
So I saw this card and I tried to. Um, a buddy of mine named Matt tried to break this card like you would a Protean Hulk, and it's hard. So I think it's not necessarily a combo card, and more just
No,
like an
a
insane
value
value
engine.
engine.
Yeah. It's because it just looks at the top seven instead of looking through the deck like Hulk would do. So,
Yeah, I think if it read 5 or less, and you saw like maybe the top 10, you could maybe orchestrate a little bit more of a combo engine type thing just by like filling your deck with similar combo pieces. But
yeah.
as it
To make
currently
him
is,
work
it's
as a
not great.
commander, you'd play a lot of deck manipulation stuff like that.
I never really
So
thought of it in the command zone. It might work.
in a command
Um,
zone, I think it'd be a pretty interesting commander.
I think so too. Um, so yeah, AO I would say like easily top 10 card of the set. We'll get to some good ones coming up though. Meanwhile, we have Banishing Slash for 2 mana. This might be the nail in Disenchant's coffin. Destroy up to one target artifact, enchantment, or tapped creature as a sorcery. Then, if you
Yeah,
control an artifact and an enchantment, you make a 2/2 with vigilance.
it's the and that kind of throws me off for that second effect. If it was if it was or, I feel
Well,
like
okay. I feel like if it was or, then this card would just be insane. It would be like
yeah,
90% of the time it would be a 2 mana 2/2 destroy target artifact, enchantment, or tapped creature. That's a sorcery that you could recur, and the 2/2 has vigilance. That's kind of insane.
I don't think the 2/2 needed the vigilance.
I think because it's enchantment and artifacts, it having vigilance is fine.
Yeah, it
Um,
has. You do have a high cost to get that 2/2, so
Realistically, this is just like one of the best white artifact enchantment removal cards in Commander now.
yeah.
Oh, I didn't actually mention that at the start, but our set review will mostly be from a Commander point of view. I might end up bringing up one or two other formats just as a passing mention, but it'll pretty much just be a Commander point of view. So yeah, I think this is like the best white artifact enchantment removal at less than 4 mana because like Crush Contraband and Return to Dust still exist.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
this is the 3 mana 2/2 with Double Strike and Ninjutsu for 4 mana. Do we need to go over this?
No, I was just about to say, wow, 4/2 next. You know?
Yeah, like if there's a white ninja deck, this goes in it. I don't think there is a white ninja deck, but I
I don't
mean,
I
if
don't
it
understand.
exists,
Like,
this card is
if,
very good in it.
I looked at this guy, I was like, huh, bad. You know?
Eh. Um, and
Then we
then
have Born to Drive, which is okay. You know, gets +1/+1 for each other creature or vehicle. It's good for if you're playing going wide, honestly, or like a going wide vehicle deck, or just tokens. But
I think the best part about Born to Drive is this is a card that wants to be in token decks that
mm-hmm.
buffs your creature for the number of creatures you have, but doesn't make it so that way it has to attack alone.
Yep, it can
Right?
also turn normal artifacts into creatures
Uh,
because it's enchant artifact or creature. You don't have to enchant just a creature, which is the other
True,
point
but
of
it
it.
doesn't actually animate the artifact into a creature. It says that so that way you can put it onto a vehicle.
Yeah, but there, if you do have a way to turn, like, I don't know, any other artifact into a creature, it could be worthwhile. But
That's fair.
for some of the vehicles that came out in the set, oh,
And like we didn't even mention the channel ability, which is actually just insane. This
which
is
is really good.
yeah,
The creatures that creates power for
is
crew with power too, and that's so
yeah,
good.
they're it's 2/1/1s that crew vehicles as if they're 3/1s, right? Which is something that a lot of people have been missing from what I've noticed. It's not
Yep.
treated as if their power was 2, it's if their power was 2 greater. So it crews for 3.
Honestly, I would play this card in a vehicle deck, not for the enchantment, just for the channel, personally. Because
I think you could play it as either or, honestly.
I honestly think the channel is better because your vehicles would just because that's the thing with
Well, I
vehicle
mean, it
decks
is
is
a,
not having the creatures you need or enough creatures to crew them.
that's
So
fair. I also will admit that like the channel ability is nuts on its own. Like just a
yes,
3 mana instant can't be countered. Make 2/1/1s is like just a
honestly,
card that would see
yeah,
play in a variety of token
it could
decks.
have easily been like two different cards, but no, it's just one card with two different effects, which is amazing.
So like Born to Drive, definitely an underrated card. This as an uncommon is nuts for limited.
I honestly
And
think it should have been a rare, not an uncommon.
yeah, there might be one or two other cards in this set that really could have been uncommon when Born to Drive could have been a rare. You just make this channel ability cost 1 in a white, and then this is a rare. So, Born to Drive, really underrated, really good. Moving on to Brilliant Restoration,
No,
aka
it could have
one-sided replenish or one-sided open the vaults.
it's really good. The thing is, it's 4 white pips. That's the only thing. I mean, if you're just playing a 2 color deck, 4 white pips isn't a problem, but I don't feel like you would be really playing this in like a 3 color deck that much.
I could see it going into Esper simply because Esper has a lot of dual lands,
Yes.
right? Though all of those dual lands are blue because blue and black are the allied colors, and then white and blue are the allied colors. So white is one of the least common. But I feel like that's fine. I feel like 2 color or Esper could play this. Probably Bant too.
Anything else is kind of just too much, you know?
Well, Bant Enchantress could play this. You're Bant. You got mana fixing in green.
That's
I, I
but
feel
still good
I feel
card,
like
one
Brilliant
sided.
Restoration is like okay.
Yeah, it's if honestly to me, if I feel like now it's one sided, so it being a rare is fair, but 7 mana,
It's
open the vault.
one-sided, and you couldn't make this an uncommon because of limited.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fair as a rare. It's just,
Uh,
if only if it was 4 generic, 3 white. Then I would be like, yeah.
but that would, I mean, I guess it's not really part of the 4-pip cycle, which we'll get to. Yeah, this really could just be 4 generic, 3 white, and it be a playable card. Like a printable card. Yeah.
Mm,
The only complaint about this card is these two costs should be flipped. Alright, well.
yeah.
Good card in theory, potentially bad because of 4 white mana. Moving on. Cloudsteel Kieran. We
Yo,
got
Platinum Angel, too.
yeah, we got a Platinum Angel, kind of. 3 mana 3/2 artifact creature enchantment Kieran. Our first reconfigure creature. And just to be clear, I am kind of a judge. I'll explain in a solo video at some point. But just to explain some of the nuances of reconfigure for a moment. It is not equip. So
Nope.
any of abilities that reduce the cost of equip costs or like the Mardu legendary knight that says equipment you control have equip for 0. This gets that ability. It's equipped for 0, but it's not altering the reconfigure. So if you equip it to a knight for 0, you cannot unequip it for reconfigure for 0. You have to pay 5 mana to unequip it.
Yep.
Another nuance of reconfigure is while this is a creature, it can get auras. What do you think happens if you enchant this with an aura and then reconfigure it to a creature? The aura falls off unless the aura says enchant creature or artifact. So these are
Yep.
things to keep in mind in general with the reconfigure ability. As for Cloudsteel Kieran itself, it's a 3 mana 3/2 with flying, and the crit creature gets flying, and you can't lose the game, and your opponents can't win the game, aka the
Honestly,
Platinum Angel ability.
honestly, really good card nonetheless.
Um, I think it's serviceable. People are not considering the fact that this is a 3 mana 3/2 flyer with no abilities unless you reconfigure it.
Yeah, but a lot of people won't be playing as a 3/2 flyer with no abilities. That's the other thing. People are
Fair,
going to be playing it for the Platinum Angel ability. So,
fair. I'm just saying this is a 3/2 flyer that dies to artifact removal,
yep.
right?
But
Like
it won't die to board wipe. So,
that's not true.
as long as it's configured to something, it won't die to a board wipe.
That's true. It,
So,
while it is attached to a creature, it doesn't die to a board wipe. So if a board, that's actually an interesting point with reconfigure. If a reconfigured creature is attached to a creature and then a wrath happens or the creature it's attached to dies in another way, um, the reconfigured creature just plops off as a creature similar to Bestow from original Theros block.
that's weird.
Yeah, it becomes the 3/2 flyer. It's not an equipment anymore.
The person riding it just got past the exile or something, and the horse is just like, well,
I'm a
I
horse
guess
now.
I'm here now.
Yeah. So I think Dragonsteel Kieran overrated personally. I think this card is good but not great, and I've seen a lot of chatter about this.
Yeah. Now, if you were able to reconfigure at flash speed, that would be a different. That would be a
that
different
would be a
story.
different story. That would just be like 5 mana counter a you win combo.
So.
Yeah. And then we have Dragonfly Suit, which is just
Yeah,
Cloudsteel Kieran, but it's a vehicle and doesn't have this section.
Yep. And we can just move on.
We'll just move on. Yeah. Very minor play, if any, in Commander.
Yeah.
a Ganju Exemplar, 2 mana, 2/1. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, it gets +1/+1 until end of turn. It's exalted, but only
Yay!
for samurais and warriors.
Which is
Bad.
okay, I guess, but
Yeah. Again, if there is a samurai or warrior Voltron deck, maybe it wants a Ganjo Explorer.
no, I think it just wants a better aura equipment.
Yeah, because like, are you playing this or all that glitters? Moving on.
Yeah.
And then we
Now
have,
we have one of the best board wipes in the game.
yeah, we have the new best board wipe that doesn't cost reduced mana, aka Power Creeped Merciless Eviction. Farewell! For 4 white white, you get a sorcery that reads choose one or more, exile all artifacts, exile all creatures, exile all enchantments, and exile all graveyards. The graveyards
Honestly,
part, totally
was
not
not
needed.
needed. Yeah, 100%. I
The
don't know
fa-
why.
the
I don't
fact
know
that
why they
I'm going
wanted
to
to hit.
lose to the fact that I'm going to lose to this while playing Reanimator, having never reanimated anything that game, is going to annoy the hell out of me.
I don't know why they decided to throw graveyards in there. But if there was
Because
no graveyards and it was just choose one or more, I'd be fine. But it's choose one or more, and here are your 4 options.
yeah, so like farewell is essentially merciless eviction. Add the text or more and change the word planeswalker to graveyards.
So
Merciless Eviction saw a lot of play in Commander, like about a year or two ago. Farewell will probably see not as much play as Eviction did back then, just because 6 mana wraths are kind of being phased out.
yeah, if it was one white pip and 5 generic, I think it would see more play.
I don't think so. I don't think the 2 white pips really matters that much. Is it?
Sometimes
Is it really?
2 white pips matter.
Well, I mean, you're also a guy playing a Naya deck who is like 90% green spells. I feel
Actually,
like your opinion is a little biased.
97%.
Sorry. Um, Maybe we'll have to do a deck tech on your fucking Sakama deck at some point. All right, we'll move on from that. We'll discuss that idea at a later point. Farewell is good, not great. Probably we'll see less play than Eviction.
I know I'm playing it.
I plan to play it myself. I also expect that I will be cutting it at some point. Just because the kinds of wraths I play normally cost like 3 or less mana.
Yeah, for me, I personally don't see 6 mana as a problem, but then again, most of the commanders I play are 6 mana or more, so.
You play Zakama and Koma as 9 drop and 7 drop as your 2 main decks. So 6 mana is kind of like a stepping stone for you. Yeah, we'll get there. We'll move on to Go Shinte. I'm not, to be clear, I am very white. I cannot pronounce these words.
Let's go Shintai. The
Thank
Tai.
you.
You're
That is
welcome.
why you're here, to help me with these pronunciations.
Yes,
Totally.
have the person learning Japanese help you with this. I
Yeah,
see.
yeah, totally. 4 mana legendary enchantment creature Shrine hype, and I'll explain in a moment. 1
Yep.
3 with vigilance for 4 mana. Hey, at the beginning of your end step, you
Yeah.
may pay 1. If you do, create a 1/1 colorless spirit token for each shrine you control. Now, for anyone actually seeing this video who doesn't know the shrine subtype, um, this is a series of enchantments that came out in the original Kamigawa block, and
Mm-hmm.
in, I believe, M21, there were new shrines printed.
Yes. They're trying.
Um, I recently built a Sisei Weatherlight Captain deck built around shrines because Sisei can search any legendary permanent and all the shrines are legendary.
It
Uh,
didn't all have to be legendary. I don't understand that.
They all have to be legendary, so that way you can't get a duplicate of some of these shrines.
I know, because some of them are just garbage.
Or some of them are insane. The jump cut there, that was just me having a phone call. We were on Goshintai of Shared Purpose. So this ability in the Shrine deck is actually kind of insane. The only downside to it is I don't think it gets doubled by the Wooburg Shrine, Sanctum of All. Give me a moment to check Sanctum of All and see if that's
Sanctum of
accurate.
All. No, that's you're. I believe you're wrong. Sanctum of All lists whenever a shrine's effect would activate, and this does count as a shrine.
No, I know. If an ability of another shrine you control triggers. Oh, it is a triggered ability.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, so it would trigger twice and you would have to pay one each time.
Yes.
That actually seems pretty good.
In a shrine deck, yes. By itself, terrible.
Yeah, but like that's the thing with all the shrines. This isn't even the first shrine that makes 1/1 colorless spirits, because there's also Honden of Life's Web, which is
Yes.
the green one that
Makes
makes
them
these
your
without.
upkeep.
Yeah. So, shared purpose, great in the shrine deck. Realistically, these could be rares, but I'm glad they're uncommons. Um, don't play it in anything aside from the shrine deck. Speaking
Yeah,
of don't
pretty
play
much.
it, we're on to Golden Tail Disciple.
Wow, 2/3 with a lifelink. Next.
2/3 for 3 mana with lifelink, and it dies to enchantment removal. We're just going to
Yes.
scroll down a little bit. Hot Shot mechanic. 1 mana 2/1, which is just, it's a Savannah Lion, and it crews vehicle as though its power were 2 greater.
Honestly, really, really good uncommon.
Yeah, I think this is great in the vehicle decks or in some just low to the ground aggro decks.
Yeah.
Like this card's kind of crazy. Especially for formats like Canadian Highlander. This card will see a lot of play in Canadian Highlander. I mean, you see a little bit of gameplay on Canadian Highlander potentially on this channel. Who knows? Either way, we're going to move on because as good as this card is, there isn't really much to talk about.
No, there isn't. It's just a 4/1 basically. 4/1 for
Uh,
vehicles.
yeah, it's a 4/1 for vehicles and a 2/1 for everyone else. And then we're on to Imperial Oath. This card's bad.
Yeah.
This is a
Wow,
6
you
mana,
create
make
three,
3/1/1 or
tokens,
3/2/2s with vigilance
and
and
you scry
scry
3.
3.
Wow,
Why is this
so
not an
amazing.
instant?
Because that would have made this card better,
Good.
Nick.
Yeah, that would have made this card good. Not even great, not even playable, just okay. Onto Imperial Recovery Unit. 3 mana, 3/4 vehicle, which is roughly the average stat line for vehicles.
Yeah.
Whenever it attacks, return target creature or vehicle card with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to your hand.
It's decent. It can't grab anything. It can grab some pretty okay. Hey, it can grab Hot Shot mechanic.
It's like almost good. It's like almost a vehicle Sun Titan. It's
If it
so
would just
close.
grab creature or vehicle from your graveyard and
No,
return it to your
no.
return it to
This
your
has to
hand.
say creature or vehicle mana value 2 or less. This should say battlefield.
Yeah.
That's the thing that's wrong with this. The fact that this says hand makes this card bad, or at least not great.
Honestly, I would not be playing this in my vehicle deck.
I mean, I can see it in Pat's Boros vehicle deck.
Yeah, but Pat Boris vehicle deck is different.
Yeah, yours is like, well, we'll get to it. We're also planning to do the commander set that's coming along with this, either in another video or in the later half of this video. not entirely sure. Um, and then we're on to Imperial Subduer. 3 mana, 3/2. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, tap target creature you don't control. This card's a limited card. It's not for commander. We're going to move
Yep.
on. Intercessor's Arrest. 3 mana, enchantment aura, enchant permanent. Enchanted permanent can't attack or block or crew vehicles. Its activated abilities can't be activated unless they're mana abilities. So this is like Arrest,
Yeah,
um,
it's
but a little bit better. Because
pretty
Arrest,
decent.
I think Arrest is also enchant permanent. It just doesn't have the or crew vehicles part on it. So if you're playing Arrest, you should probably cut Arrest and play in Intercessor's Arrest, or just different white removal. But I mean, if you're gonna play one, you might as well
It's
play
pretty.
this one.
It's. I personally think it's pretty decent, like aura removal. Like,
Yeah,
uh,
and I think aura removal is seeing a little bit of more play recently. Darksteel
yeah.
Mutagen, Reprobation. Yeah. These
Endless
cards are better
transformation.
than we expect. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
um, moving on, we have Invoke Justice. 1 white. For a sorcery, return target permanent card from your graveyard to the battlefield. Then distribute 4+1/+1 counters among any number of creatures and or vehicles target player controls. So, a few things about this card. This is an Obsidat's Aid that instead of costing 3 white black, costs a lot of white mana.
Yeah. Honestly, this is too much white mana for me.
Second thing about this card is if this gets deflecting swatted, you
Just about,
cry.
I was just about to say this can get deflecting swatted too.
So, like, well, any reanimator target can get deflecting swatted. But Invoke Justice, especially, is terrible because this says target permanent. So, normally you want to revive, like, a big enchantment or creature with Invoke Justice. But,
Mm-hmm.
like, if you have an Evolving Wilds in your graveyard, they can deflecting swat and make you target the Evolving Wilds, and then put the 4+1/+1 counters on a, on different things that they control because this says target player controls.
Yeah.
So you're like invoke justice, target my Elishnorn, put 4+1/+1 counters on Elishnorn. They go deflecting swat, You target your evolving wilds, and then target me with the distribute counters. Look, my only creature is my Shieldred. Let's put 4+1/+1 counters on Shieldred.
Yep.
This card's great, but also very prone to deflecting swat.
Deflecting swat.
Um, we talk about that card because it's probably the most played, like, quote unquote, counter spell in our form or in our playgroup. So good, but this didn't need to say target player controls.
No, it did not.
Onto Kitsune Ace, 2 mana 2/2. Whenever a vehicle you control attacks, choose one. That vehicle gains first strike until end of turn, or untap Kitsune Ace.
I mean, vehicle support. Other than that,
The fact that this is untapping after a vehicle attacks is weird to me.
yeah, I don't.
Because theoretically, this untap ability is to let it crew another vehicle, but the vehicle is already attacking, meaning the new crew can't attack either.
Yep. It honestly
So
doesn't make
why does
sense.
this untap? Yeah,
It's for a blocker. That's why,
I
because after
guess
you attack with your vehicle, you're gonna wanna
crew
block.
a different vehicle to block. I guess
Yeah, I guess what it is like he's hopping out of the vehicle and be like, already.
it like it like half crews per Helion 2 attacks, and then it half crews per Helion 2 for the block.
Yep.
Sure, I guess. On to David, help me out here.
Yodai.
Kyodai, Soul of Kamigawa. 4 mana, 3/3 flash flying. When it enters the battlefield, another target permanent you control gains indestructible for as long as you control Kyodai. And for Wooburg, it gets +5/+5 until end of turn.
The Wooburg commander.
It's a Wooburg commander that you only have to pay white mana for.
It does have flash though, which is pretty decent.
Which is yeah, it's a command zone make something dodge or removal spell.
So
Interestingly, doesn't really protect you from wrath. It like saves you
nope.
from one wrath, and then Kyode dies, presumably back to command zone. And then your one remaining creature is just kind of there after the wrath.
Yep. Honestly, more of a support card than like an actual command. I don't know. For a commander, I don't really think I'd be playing it, but there would be ways to make it to break him so you can just make Kyodai super super big.
Well,
So
I think the problem with Kyodai is that if you're playing it as the commander, it's kind of underwhelming as a commander. And if you're not
yep.
playing it as a commander, you have to be playing it in a different Wooburg deck.
Yeah.
So, like,
So
maybe Ur Dragon?
yeah, it is a dragon or Scion. Ooh, Scion with Kyodai effect wouldn't be that bad.
Yeah, it would, because Scion doesn't re enter the battlefield. It bins
I mean,
Kyodai, and then it doesn't get the ETB trigger.
it doesn't need the ETB trigger. It just needs the +5/+5.
Yeah, but you can just get a different. Like, you could um, Scion to bin a Shivan Dragon and get fire breathing, which is like essentially this, except it doesn't give toughness. There are
That's
much
true.
better effects to just give the Scion.
Ah,
I
yeah.
think
Other than
Kyodai
that,
really just this Wooburg ability is actually what ruined it. If it didn't
honestly,
have this ability, this as a white legendary would just be fine.
yeah, that ability is just like here, I guess, commander
It makes
players,
it
here's go.
so awkward.
Honestly,
Like,
that ability, I don't even see much. Personally, I don't see much use for that ability half the time. I don't
no.
even know what I would build around Kyodai, honestly.
Like, it wants you to be playing Voltron, but then again, it's 5 mana to make this an 8/8.
Yeah.
Why? Right? Like, if Kyodai is trying to be Kenrith and it doesn't, it's just not.
No. So just play Kenrith. No
Just,
problem about that.
yeah, just play Kenrith. Unless you're a casual and you want to try to break this card, then more power to you. Um, Moving on, we have Light the Way. 1 mana white instant. These cards are either really terrible or really excellent. Let's find out.
Yep.
Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle. Untap it. Or return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. I'm curious your take on this.
Return target permanent you control to its owner's hand. I mean,
So, like, let's be clear about this. This first ability is blank.
yeah.
Like, this
It's
is a
just a
combat trick for limited, and that's all.
yeah. The
This
second ability, honestly,
this bounce your own permanent thing.
honestly, I would play this in Sakama.
See, that's kind of the position I was thinking about.
For 1 mana, just return target permanent to my hand at instant speed. Pretty good.
You know,
It,
I could see this in
it
like a blue white high tide deck.
mhm. Because this is one it's one combo piece to or initiator if you want or protection for while you're doing your combo.
Play
Like say
extender.
you yeah, let's say somebody's like trying to stop your playmaking, like let's say what's her name, whenever a permanent enters the battlefield or leaves the battlefield, deal 1 damage.
Oh, Vela the Nightclad.
Yeah. like, let's say you play Vela, then somebody's removing her. You just light the way, you know?
You bounce Vela to your hand and try to pop off the next turn? Because
No, but
I doubt you
no,
have
but
13 mana afterward. Though I guess in the decks that are playing Vela, you're normally
you
only play Vela after you have infinite mana.
yeah, like you have the mana for Vela every player, so you don't have to worry about that.
Yeah, that's fair. Alright, Light the Way might be a good tech card. Who knows?
Yeah,
Meanwhile, we have secretly the best commander in this
it's
entire set.
broken. It's honestly broken. Should not have been 2 mana. Should have been four
So,
mana or 3 mana.
we're saying this because a buddy of ours, Matt, has already built the Light Pause deck. And just to run through this card a little bit, this is a 2 mana 2/2 that whenever you cast an aura spell, you can search your library for an aura with mana value less than or equal to that aura with a different name than each aura you control and put that card onto the battlefield attached to Light Pause. A lot of those restrictions are just irrelevant in Commander,
Yep, because you're
right?
playing only one ups, unless you're playing unless basic lands, but that's irrelevant.
Yeah. You're playing all one ofs, so this different names than each aura you control literally doesn't matter. This mana value less than or equal to thing is fine because you're just playing like your highest cost aura is 3, and you're just playing like 22 cost auras.
Five actually, but you only
Is
play one
is he
card.
playing a
It's
5?
it's the aura that grabs all auras from the graveyard and puts and attach to creatures you
Oh,
control.
okay. That's fair. Um,
But
yeah, I think this.
it's only the one. So if the deck CMC is at 1.9. So
Yeah, his average CMC for a commander deck is 1.9. It's less than 2. So,
this
like,
deck consistently kills people on turn 3 and 4. So
yeah, the first death to this card normally happens on turn 4. Sometimes it can happen on turn 3, which
yep,
is like,
depending on if you get it out turn 1 or not.
yeah,
Honestly, Light
if you
Pause
get it
should
out
not
turn
have
1 or
been two
not,
mana.
yeah. The fact that I think the biggest problem with this card is this is white and 1 instead of white white or one
Yes,
white white.
because it being 1/1, there's so many ways
There's
you can just
so
break
many
this
ways you
and
can
get it out.
accelerate it. Yeah, it's nuts. Light Pause is nuts. Probably the best commander in the set, including the commander deck recons. If you're gonna play Voltron, if you're gonna play mono white Voltron, you're not playing SRAM anymore. You're playing Light Pause. Do it. Try it. Seriously, it's that good.
Yep.
Um, moving on. Lion Sash. Lion Sash? Yeah, sure. Lion Sash. I've heard some people pronounce this as Leon Sash, and I'm like, I don't.
No, it's Lion Sash.
This is a lion, bro. Anyway, um, 2 mana for a 1/1 artifact creature equipment cat. Exile target
Fuck a
permanent
lot.
card from a graveyard. If it was or exile target card from a graveyard. If it was a permanent card, put a +1/+1 counter on Lion Sash. The creature gets +1/+1 for each +1/+1 counter on Lion Sash. And it has reconfigure for 2.
Yep.
So, um, some of you may recognize the card to compare this to in Scavenging Ooze. Scavenging
Yes.
Ooze, as has been previously shown to the metagame, is actually kind of a nuts card. For
It
those of
is.
you who don't know, it's just one white green or one and a green. Yeah, it's just one and a green for a 2/2. Pay a green, exile target card from a graveyard. If it's a creature, put a +1/+1 counter on it and gain a life. Um, Lion Sash is essentially a white Scavenging Ooze, but better because this gets
You
bigger
don't gain
whenever
you don't have the life gain, so but
it's
that's
kind of
kind of
irrelevant.
irrelevant.
Yeah. And this gets bigger if you exile any permanent, not just creatures.
Exactly.
Also,
That's what matters.
it's an equipment. So like
Yes. You can
slap
make
this onto your
anything bigger.
SRAM. Yeah.
And you
Um,
don't even. And the thing about it, you don't. If it's attached to something, you can still use the exiling effect, which is
that's
another
true.
bonus.
Yeah. You would actually, some people have assumed for some reason that this exile effect only applies while it's a creature, and that's just not the
That's
case.
wrong. If it
Yeah.
if it did, it would state so in the card effect.
Yeah. Um, so yeah, I think this
Honestly,
card is actually kind of crazy.
yeah, really good for it. Deserves its rare spot, and honestly,
Could be an uncommon. Could be an, like, make the reconfigure cost 3 and it's an uncommon.
yeah. But it being two, is really
It,
nice.
it's just a pushed on, like, this is a card that has been pushed enough out of uncommon to constitute being a rare, barely.
Yep.
And then we have Lucky Offering, which is a card I thought was nuts, and then I kept reading. Um,
Yes. It's a
one,
sorcery.
yeah, one white mana for a sorcery. Ugh. Destroy target artifact with mana value 3 or less. You gain 3 life. When I initially saw this card, I thought it was just white Nature's Claim. And Nature's Claim is a 1 mana green instant. Destroy target artifact or enchantment. Its controller gains 4 life. I thought this was just white Nature's Claim, and it is so not.
No, it's not. It
This card
sorcery
is
speed
just bad,
only destroys stuff CMC 3 or less,
and it
and
only hits artifacts. Can't hit
yeah. So
enchantments, which is weird for a white card. White cards normally hit enchantments, not artifacts, if it's going to hit one. So yeah, Lucky Offering, not good. Don't play it. Don't try it. It's bad. And then we have March of Otherworldly White
I
for
am honest.
so
It's
so this cycle of cards is actually kind of crazy with a commander I will bring up later. March of Otherworldly Light is a 1x, or is a white mana and X for an instant. As an additional cost to cast this spell, you may exile any number of white cards from your hand. This spell costs 2 less to cast for each exiled this way. And its effect is exile target artifact, creature, or enchantment that costs X or less.
honest. The first effect I'm kind of iffy about, but honest.
Well,
Other than that, I think it.
the cost reduction effect is on a cycle of cards. There's one of each of
Yeah.
these in each color. Um,
Still, so kind of iffy about it, but honestly, I think it's a pretty good instant.
the yeah, the actual effect of this card is like okay. I think I. How often do you think you're exiling a 3 drop with this?
Honestly, not very
3 or
often.
higher.
The egg. Honestly, not very often. The only things I would really want to exile with this, I don't know. Like the thing is, you have to sink so much mana or exile so many cards
Right.
that
I feel like this has
this.
to only be 3 mana or exile 1 card. Right? It's
Yeah,
only hitting a 2 drop or lower.
yeah. That's what makes it kind of. If it was just, if it was just with mana with X value, like no, there's not really a way to make this. They just have to exile target creatures where X is the value. Like making it so you can only exile creatures or artifacts or enchantments which cost that or less makes this card eh.
Yeah,
So
I think March of Otherworldly Light is okay if you're playing on a budget, but if you're not, there just isn't a reason to play it. And then we have, sorry about that, I was just taking a drink of water. Then we have Moth Rider Patrol, 1 white mana for a 1/1 flying, 3 and a white, tap target creature. This card's
that is
only for limited.
bad.
It won't even see play in standard.
And
And
then we
then,
have Norika.
yeah, go ahead.
Whenever a samurai or a warrior you control attacks alone, you may cast target enchantment card from your graveyard this turn. That effect is pretty good.
Yeah. And it also is a 3/2 with vigilance at uncommon.
Yeah.
Like this
Honestly,
this
I'm
card's
surprised
actually
that's
kind of
on.
crazy.
I'm surprised it's out of uncommon.
Right? When I mentioned earlier that this card is an uncommon that could have been a rare, this is another one, right? Like, where was it? It was Born to Drive and Norika Yamazaki. Both of these cards are uncommons that could be rares. So yeah, uh, Yamazaki is probably the second best Voltron commander in this format, or in this set, I mean. Nothing beats Light Paws. But yeah,
No.
Yamazaki is pretty good. And then we
And we got
have,
a not a combat trick, so
yeah, we got Regent's Authority, which is just, it's a +2/+2 if you control an enchantment or legendary creature. Instead, it gets a +1/+1 counter and +1/+1 until end of turn. So one of the +1/+1s is permanent. Moving on. Repel the Vial is not that great. 4 mana instant, exile target creature with power 4 or greater, or exile target enchantment. If you want to play a Return to Dust that can hit big creatures instead of artifacts, sure.
but other than that, I don't really think it's worth it.
No, I don't think it's
It's
that worth
budget
money.
though, but you know.
Yeah, but Return
I,
to Dust and Crush Contraband are already budget, so it's not really worth considering.
yeah.
And then we have Selfless Samurai. 2 mana for a. Oh, actually, that's a advisor. Does not. This is not a samurai, so all of the Voltron commander things that I was thinking of aren't that great. Though they do work with Norika. Anyway,
Yes.
Selfless Samurai. 2 mana for a 2/2. Whenever a samurai or warrior you control attacks alone, it gains lifelink until end of turn. Sacrifice it. Another target creature you control gains indestructible until end of turn.
Yo, Dauntless Vanguard. Yeah.
And this is a Dauntless Vanguard that can come into play before the thing um, it's giving protection to does.
Yes. What's the CMC for Dauntless again? Like,
It's a 1 mana 2/1, but it
yeah.
enters the battlefield and you pick a creature and then you can sacrifice it to give the creature indestructible.
This is just honestly, it's pretty decent uncommon. Only for a second ability, I think it's decent for an uncommon. The first ability is like so for samurai and warrior decks, you know.
It'll go into the Norika deck. I think this one will definitely go in the Norika deck. And then we have Seven Tail Mentor. Uh, when it enters the battlefield or dies, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature or vehicle you control. This is a 4 mana 2/3.
Yeah.
Why? Moving on.
Sky
7 mana for a 4/4 flyer, and it has
that
a
gets
cost reduction
that
ability.
that reduces itself for one for each other enchantment you control.
Which,
Bad.
hold
It's
on, for Enchantress heavy decks, I think this card is actually crazy. I'm also a guy who's
yeah.
played Gurmag Angler in Commander.
That's true. I personally think
I
that card
might
is
be
bad.
I might be biased, but I
You are
do think
being biased.
I do think Skyblast Samurai has a niche. It's not an all-round
Personally, for
playable
me,
card.
I think that card is terrible and should be a common, not an uncommon. But
Oh no, this has to be an uncommon because if this was in limited as a common, it would be like unbeatable. Every deck would just be playing like 3 Skyblast Samurai and you would have 1 mana 4/4 flyers running around. This can't be a common for the health of limited. It can't.
That's true.
I think it's a neat. It has a niche home, but like whether or not that home is good is actually up for consideration. And then we have Spirited Companion, aka White's new Elvish Visionary. 1 white mana for a 1/1 ETB draw card.
Which is pretty good.
This card is just fine. It's nothing special, but truly, honestly, Elvish Visionary sees an amount of playing Commander, and now Spirited Companion will see an amount of playing Commander.
Honestly, I think some white decks might just throw it in there.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, some like more budget. What's the name of the commander? The Boros one that's human and non-human.
Oh,
Winota.
yes, Winota. Winota would like this. Like a budget-friendly Winota would like this.
Yeah, budget Winota would try Spirited Companion. Then we have Sunblade Samurai, which is a 5 mana 4/4 with Vigilance and Channel. I think this is the first Channel card we have come across. So for people who don't know, Channel is essentially cycling, but instead of discarding and drawing a card, you discard and get a specific effect. So with Sunblade Samurai, you discard it.
Channeling.
Sorry?
Born to Drive had channeling.
Oh, yes, you're right. Sunblade Samurai is a. You can discard it for 2 mana, search your library for a basic planes, reveal it, put it into your hand, and then you gain 2 life. This card's like okay in a budget deck.
I mean,
decks that are playing basic land cycling will play Sunblade Samurai.
Yeah.
And then we have Touch of the Spirit Realm, which is a 3 mana enchantment. When it enters the battlefield, exile up to 1 target artifact or creature until it leaves the battlefield. So it's a banishing light, but it also has this other ability, Channel, discard it, exile target artifact or creature, return to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step.
Oh!
I have been waiting for one of these. This card will go into Aminatu.
That is, and you can't even interrupt it. You can stifle it. That's the only thing you can do.
True, you can stifle it, I guess. Though not a lot of people play stifle.
No, not a lot of people.
So yeah, Touch of the Spirit Realm. It's a banishing light in a rough situation, or it's a flicker in a flicker situation. So yeah, and then we have Wanderer's Invention. Or Intervention,
Yay.
Sorry.
Another
this card's like, it just deals 4 damage to target attacking or blocking creature. This card's like,
Honestly, there are 1 mana white cards that do the exact same thing.
But better.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're just going to move on from Wanderer's Intervention to the Wanderer, or in this time, the Wandering Emperor. 4 mana, 2 white for a legendary planeswalker, end of type line. It has Flash, comes in with 3 loyalty, and as long as it enters the battlefield this turn, you may activate her loyalty abilities anytime you could cast an instant to mitigate the flash. So you can flash it in and then activate one of the abilities during the opponent's turn. The first ability is +1. Put a +1/+1 counter on up to 1 target creature you control. It gains first strike until end of turn. The second ability, create a 2/2 samurai creature token with vigilance. The last ability, -2, exile target tapped creature. You gain 2 life. David, how do you feel about this 4 mana planeswalker?
4 mana planeswalker that creates a token when it enters.
or exiles a lethal attacker, or even just a non-lethal attacker.
Honestly, it's kind of decent, you know.
Yeah. If you cast it for 4, exile something attacking, right? It comes back to you, and then you just like -1 to make it 2/2. Is that worth doing, or do you think you
I'm
have to
just
exile something
killing it.
and keep one around?
Uh, I don't know. Honestly, if you're you doing not to block, it matters if the blocker has trample or not, but or other things or other evasion. But if it doesn't, you could use it -1 and create the
And
blocker.
just jump block?
Yeah,
I don't know. I feel like you're more often going to flash this in and immediately use the -2. In some
yeah,
situations, you may end up using the -2 and then the +1, but yeah. Or actually, if you have like a decent block, but not quite a perfect block, you may flash this in, use the +1 because it also gives it first strike, and now your
that
decent
is
block
true.
becomes actually crazy. I think
The
Wandering
first,
Emperor can see some play.
not much, but a bit.
A bit. Well, there's other planeswalkers in this set that we'll get to. Um, moving on, we have When We Were Young, 4 mana, 3 and a white for an instant. Up to 2 target creatures each get +2/+2 until end of turn. If you control an artifact and an enchantment, those creatures also gain lifelink until end of turn. This card's not great.
No, there are a
You
lot
could
of there are a lot of combat tricks in. I mean that's kind of like White's
in
thing.
most sets.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, you could play When We Were Young, or you could play like Triumph of the Hordes.
yeah.
We're gonna move on. On to blue.